Gaslighting and Narcissistic Abuse Recovery. A Survivor's Journey Through Narcissistic Abuse, Gaslighting, and the Road to Recovery. The compelling story of Everly Catherine Adams, written by Jackie Elaine Lloyds and narrated by Madison. Chapter 1, Introduction. The protagonist, their life and their seemingly perfect relationship. Everly Adams was the quintessential girl next door. With her flowing auburn hair, warm hazel eyes, and infectious smile that could light up a room, she was impossible not to like. She had grown up in the idyllic town of Willowbrook, a picturesque place nestled between rolling hills and lush green meadows. The town was small enough that everyone knew each other by name, and big enough to offer a sense of community that fostered lifelong friendships. Everly had always been a bright student, excelling in both academics and extracurricular activities. Her passion for helping others led her to volunteer at the local animal shelter, where she could often be found walking dogs or cleaning cages on the weekends. She was also an avid reader, and her love of literature had inspired her to pursue a degree in English literature at the nearby university. Throughout her life, Everly's parents, Emily and Jack, had been her constant source of support and guidance. They had instilled in her the values of kindness, empathy, and hard work. Those values were evident in all aspects of her life, from her close relationships with her family and friends to her dedication to her studies and volunteer work. Upon graduating from university, Everly landed her dream job as an editor at a prestigious publishing house in the city. She was thrilled to have the opportunity to work with talented authors and help bring their stories to life. It was during this time that she met Ethan, a charming and charismatic man who worked in the finance department of the same company. Ethan was tall, dark, and handsome, with a magnetic personality that drew people to him. He was the life of every party, always surrounded by friends and admirers. It wasn't long before he set his sights on Everly, and she was smitten from the start. Their relationship progressed quickly, and it seemed as if they were a match made in heaven. Ethan was attentive and affectionate, always surprising Everly with romantic gestures and thoughtful gifts. He would leave her love notes on the bathroom mirror, bring her flowers for no reason, and plan elaborate date nights that left her feeling like a princess. He even got along well with her family and friends, who were all taken by his charm and wit. As their relationship blossomed, it seemed as if nothing could go wrong. They moved in together, adopting a sweet rescue dog named Daisy to complete their little family. Everly's career continued to thrive, and Ethan received a promotion at work, making them the picture-perfect couple. On the surface, everything about Everly and Ethan's relationship appeared to be flawless. Their social media accounts were filled with smiling photos of the couple on exotic vacations, cozy nights in with their beloved dog, and celebrations with friends and family. To the outside world, they were the epitome of success and happiness. However, as time went on, subtle changes began to emerge. Ethan's once easygoing nature started to give way to a more controlling side. He would question Everly's decisions, subtly undermining her confidence in herself. At first, it was easy to dismiss these incidents as isolated occurrences, but they soon became a pattern that was impossible to ignore. Ethan's grip on Everly's life tightened, and he began dictating everything from what she wore to who she spent time with. He insisted on accompanying her to work functions, where he would hover over her, making it clear that he was keeping an eye on her interactions with her colleagues. When she tried to express her concerns about his behavior, he would deflect the conversation, insisting that he was only looking out for her best interests. Gaslighting, a form of psychological manipulation, became a staple in their relationship. Ethan would twist events and conversations to make Everly doubt her own memory and perception of reality. He'd make her believe that she was the one causing problems in their relationship, blaming her for his outbursts and controlling behavior. Everly's once vibrant social life began to wither away as Ethan systematically isolated her from her friends and family. He would pick fights before gatherings or guilt her into staying home with him, making it increasingly difficult for her to maintain her relationships outside of their partnership. As a result, Everly became more and more dependent on Ethan, which only served to fuel his control over her. Despite the mounting warning signs, Everly desperately clung to the belief that their love could conquer all. She rationalized Ethan's actions as a misguided attempt to protect her, convinced that beneath his harsh exterior was the loving and devoted partner she had fallen for. However, as the abuse escalated, it became increasingly difficult for Everly to ignore the stark reality of her situation. The man she had once believed to be her soulmate had slowly morphed into a controlling and manipulative stranger, leaving her feeling trapped and alone. As Everly grappled with the truth of her circumstances, she began to realize that her seemingly perfect relationship was anything but. The love she had once felt so strongly for Ethan had been replaced by fear and uncertainty, leaving her to question everything she thought she knew about herself and her partner. In a moment of clarity, Everly recognized that she needed to find a way out of the toxic cycle of abuse and gaslighting that had come to define her relationship with Ethan. It was a daunting prospect, one that would require immense courage and determination, but she knew that she deserved better than the life she was living. And so Everly embarked on a journey to reclaim her sense of self and escape the darkness that had consumed her once bright and happy life. Little did she know, her path to healing and recovery would prove to be as challenging as it was transformative, forcing her to confront the deepest, most hidden parts of herself in order to truly break free from the chains of her past. With each step she took towards freedom and self-discovery, Everly would learn that the power to overcome even the darkest of circumstances lay within her all along. Her journey would serve as a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit, offering hope and inspiration to those who found themselves trapped in the shadows of their own lives. Gradual revelation of the narcissistic partner's true nature and manipulative tactics. In the beginning, the subtle shifts in Ethan's behavior were barely noticeable. Everly, being deeply in love and caught up in the whirlwind of their romance, didn't see the warning signs. However, as their relationship progressed, the mask that Ethan had been wearing began to slip, revealing the true nature of the man she had fallen for. The first sign of trouble appeared when Ethan started making snide comments about Everly's appearance. He would casually mention that her jeans looked a bit tight, or that her makeup wasn't quite right. These offhand remarks seemed innocuous at first, but they slowly chipped away at Everly's self-esteem, making her doubt her own judgment and worth. As Ethan's grip on Everly tightened, he began to exert control over other aspects of her life. He would criticize her choice of friends, claiming that they were a bad influence or that they didn't genuinely care about her. He would question her commitment to their relationship, if she wanted to spend time with her loved ones, guilt-tripping her into canceling plans and isolating herself further. Ethan's manipulation extended into their social life as well. He would monopolize conversations, making it impossible for Everly to participate or share her own thoughts and opinions. If she tried to interject, he would belittle her, making her feel foolish and insignificant. Over time, Ethan's tactics became more insidious. He would gaslight Everly, manipulating her sense of reality by denying events or conversations that had taken place. He would accuse her of being overly emotional or irrational when she confronted him about his behavior, making her question her own sanity. Everly found herself walking on eggshells, constantly trying to avoid saying or doing anything that might provoke Ethan's wrath. She felt trapped in a never-ending cycle of abuse and manipulation, unable to see a way out. As the months went by, Ethan's true nature became increasingly apparent. His once charming demeanor had transformed into a cold, calculating persona, devoid of the warmth and love that Everly had initially been drawn to. He would fly into fits of rage over the smallest perceived slight, leaving her trembling with fear and anxiety. It wasn't until a particularly harrowing incident that Everly finally began to comprehend the gravity of her situation. One evening, after a heated argument, Ethan stormed out of their apartment, slamming the door behind him. In his rage, he had left his phone behind, and as it buzzed with an incoming message, Everly couldn't help but glance at the screen. What she saw shook her to her core. The message was from another woman, filled with flirtatious banter and promises of a clandestine rendezvous. As she scrolled through the conversation history, Everly realized that this wasn't a one-time transgression. Ethan had been carrying on multiple affairs throughout their entire relationship. The discovery of Ethan's infidelity shattered the last remnants of the illusion that Everly had been clinging to. She could no longer deny the truth. The man she had fallen in love with was nothing more than a carefully constructed facade, hiding a narcissistic and manipulative monster. As she sat on their living room floor, surrounded by the shattered pieces of her life, Everly knew that she had to find a way to break free from Ethan's control. She couldn't continue to live in fear and self-doubt, allowing herself to be manipulated and degraded by someone who claimed to love her. But escaping the tangled web of lies and deceit that Ethan had woven around her wouldn't be easy. She would need to summon every ounce of courage and determination that she possessed in order to confront the darkness that had consumed her once vibrant and happy life. Over the course of the next few weeks, Everly began to formulate a plan. She reached out to her friends and family, who were shocked and heartbroken by the revelations of Ethan's true nature. They offered their unconditional support and help, providing a lifeline that Everly clung to as she navigated the treacherous path towards freedom. As she prepared to leave Ethan, Everly also sought the help of a therapist who specialized in helping victims of narcissistic abuse. Through their sessions, she gained a deeper understanding of the manipulative tactics that Ethan had employed to control her and maintain his power over her. She learned about the cycle of abuse, in which the abuser alternates between phases of idealization, devaluation, and discarding their victim. This pattern creates an addictive emotional roller coaster for the victim, making it difficult for them to break free from the relationship. Everly also discovered the concept of trauma bonding, a phenomenon in which victims develop a strong attachment to their abuser due to the intense emotional experiences they share. This bond can make it incredibly difficult for victims to leave their abusers, even when they recognize that the relationship is toxic and harmful. Armed with this knowledge and the support of her loved ones, Everly finally found the strength to confront Ethan and end their relationship. The process was excruciating, as Ethan employed every manipulative tactic in his arsenal to try and maintain his control over her. He would oscillate between rage-filled outbursts and tearful apologies, attempting to guilt Everly into staying with him. But she held firm, refusing to be swayed by his empty promises and lies. In the end, Everly was able to extricate herself from the suffocating grip of Ethan's narcissistic abuse. It was a painful and arduous journey, filled with countless obstacles and setbacks. But with each step she took towards freedom, she grew stronger and more resilient, reclaiming her sense of self and her power. As she emerged from the darkness of her past, Everly vowed to use her experiences to help others who found themselves trapped in the same cycle of abuse and manipulation. She knew that the road to recovery would be long and challenging, but she was determined to forge a new path for herself, one filled with hope, healing, and the promise of a brighter future. Chapter 2: The Abuse. Detailed account of the escalating emotional and psychological abuse inflicted by the narcissistic partner. As Everly's relationship with Ethan progressed, the emotional and psychological abuse she endured became increasingly intense and insidious. What had once been a loving and supportive partnership had transformed into a toxic and destructive cycle of manipulation, control, and deceit. The first signs of trouble appeared in the form of subtle jabs and criticisms. Ethan would make offhand remarks about Everly's appearance, her intelligence, or her decisions, undermining her self-confidence and causing her to question her own judgment. These seemingly innocuous comments slowly chipped away at her self-esteem, making her more vulnerable to his manipulative tactics. Ethan's control over Everly's life began to extend beyond their relationship, as he sought to isolate her from her friends and family. He would criticize her loved ones, claiming that they were a bad influence or that they didn't genuinely care about her. He would guilt-trip her into canceling plans with them, insisting that their relationship should be her top priority. As the isolation took hold, Everly found herself increasingly dependent on Ethan for emotional support and validation. This dependency only served to strengthen his control over her, as he manipulated her emotions to keep her tethered to him. Ethan's gaslighting tactics also escalated during this time. He would twist events and conversations to make Everly doubt her own memory and perception of reality. If she confronted him about his behavior, he would deny any wrongdoing, accusing her of being overly emotional or irrational. This constant manipulation left her feeling disoriented and confused, unsure of what was real and what was a fabrication. In addition to the gaslighting, Ethan's emotional abuse took on more overt forms as well. He would belittle Everly in front of others, making her feel foolish and insignificant. He would dismiss her accomplishments, attributing them to luck or the help of others rather than her own hard work and talent. Ethan's emotional abuse also manifested as verbal attacks, with him hurling cruel insults and accusations at Everly during arguments. He would call her names, mock her insecurities, and threaten to leave her if she didn't comply with his demands. As the abuse intensified, Everly felt trapped in a never-ending cycle of manipulation and degradation. She walked on eggshells, constantly trying to avoid saying or doing anything that might provoke Ethan's wrath. Her once vibrant and happy life had been reduced to a shadow of its former self, suffocated by fear and self-doubt. Ethan's control over Everly reached a breaking point when he began monitoring her every move. He would insist on accompanying her to work functions, where he would hover over her, ensuring that she didn't interact too closely with her colleagues. He would check her phone and email, accusing her of being unfaithful if he found any messages from male friends or coworkers. The emotional and psychological abuse inflicted by Ethan took a severe toll on Everly's mental health. She experienced symptoms of anxiety and depression, struggling to find joy in the activities she once loved. She felt isolated and alone, weighed down by the crushing pressure of maintaining the facade of a perfect relationship while hiding the truth of her situation from those around her. Despite the mounting evidence of Ethan's true nature, Everly clung to the hope that their love could conquer all. She rationalized his actions as misguided attempts to protect her, unwilling to accept the reality that the man she had fallen in love with was nothing more than a carefully constructed facade. It wasn't until a particularly harrowing incident that Everly finally acknowledged the severity of her circumstances. One evening, after a heated argument, Ethan stormed out of their apartment, leaving his phone behind. As it buzzed with an incoming message, Everly glanced at the screen, discovering a flirtatious conversation between Ethan and another woman. The revelation of Ethan's infidelity shattered the last remnants of Everly's illusions about their relationship. She could no longer deny the truth. She was trapped in a cycle of abuse and manipulation, her once loving partner now a stranger who sought to control and degrade her at every turn. As she grappled with the reality of her situation, Everly made the decision to break free from Ethan's control. She reached out to her friends and family, who were shocked and heartbroken by the revelations but offered their unwavering support and help. With their encouragement, Everly began to research and educate herself about narcissistic abuse, learning about the manipulative tactics employed by abusers like Ethan. She sought the help of a therapist, who specialized in helping victims of emotional and psychological abuse. Through therapy and the support of her loved ones, Everly slowly began to rebuild her sense of self and her life. She learned to recognize the signs of abuse and manipulation, developing strategies for protecting herself and setting healthy boundaries. As she embarked on her journey towards healing and recovery, Everly vowed to use her experiences to help others who found themselves trapped in similar cycles of abuse. She knew that the road ahead would be long and challenging, but she was determined to forge a new path for herself, one filled with hope, healing, and the promise of a brighter future. In the end, Everly's story serves as a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit. Despite the pain and hardship she endured at the hands of her narcissistic partner, she was able to reclaim her power and her life, emerging stronger and more resilient than ever before. Her journey offers hope and inspiration to others who may be struggling in the shadows of their own lives, a reminder that no matter how dark things may seem, there is always a way out, a path towards healing and recovery that can lead to a brighter, more fulfilling future. Exploration of the gaslighting techniques used to control and undermine the protagonist's sense of reality. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which the abuser seeks to sow seeds of doubt in a targeted individual or group, making them question their own memory, perception, or sanity. In Everly's case, Ethan employed a variety of gaslighting techniques to control and undermine her sense of reality, leaving her feeling disoriented, confused, and dependent on him for validation. One of the primary gaslighting tactics that Ethan employed was the denial of events or conversations that had taken place. He would insist that certain things never happened, or that Everly was misremembering the details, causing her to doubt her own memory. For example, if Everly confronted him about a hurtful comment he had made, he would adamantly deny ever saying such a thing, accusing her of being overly sensitive or imagining things. Another technique used by Ethan was the trivialization of Everly's feelings and experiences. He would dismiss her concerns and emotions as irrational or unimportant, making her feel as though she was overreacting or blowing things out of proportion. This tactic served to invalidate her feelings and make her question her own judgment, further eroding her confidence and self-esteem. Ethan also employed the tactic of diversion or deflection when confronted about his behavior. Rather than addressing the issue at hand, he would change the subject or turn the focus back on Everly, accusing her of being the one with a problem or an ulterior motive. This would leave her feeling off balance and unable to effectively communicate her concerns, as the conversation would inevitably devolve into a barrage of accusations and blame shifting. Ethan's gaslighting tactics extended to the manipulation of their shared environment as well. He would move or hide objects, then deny any knowledge of it when Everly noticed their absence. This left her questioning her own memory and perception, wondering if she was becoming forgetful or losing her grip on reality. Another technique that Ethan utilized was the use of lies and false information to create confusion and doubt. He would fabricate stories or exaggerate events in order to manipulate Everly's emotions and reactions. For example, he might tell her that a mutual friend had said something negative about her, causing her to become upset and question the loyalty of her friends. Later, he would deny ever making such a claim, leaving her feeling disoriented and unsure of what to believe. Ethan also exploited Everly's love and trust for him by presenting himself as the only reliable source of information and support. As he systematically isolated her from her friends and family, he reinforced the idea that he was the only one who truly cared about her and understood her needs. This created a sense of dependency on him, making it even more difficult for her to recognize and challenge his manipulative tactics. Throughout their relationship, Ethan's gaslighting techniques became increasingly sophisticated and insidious. He would prey on Everly's insecurities and fears, using them as weapons to control her and maintain his power over her. His ultimate goal was to create a sense of helplessness and dependency in Everly, ensuring that she remained tethered to him and vulnerable to his manipulation. The impact of Ethan's gaslighting on Everly was profound and far-reaching. She experienced symptoms of anxiety and depression, struggling to find joy in her life and maintain her sense of self-worth. Her once strong and confident personality had been eroded by the constant manipulation and undermining of her reality, leaving her feeling lost and adrift. As Everly began the process of entangling herself from Ethan's web of lies and deceit, she realized just how deeply the gaslighting had affected her. She found it difficult to trust her own memories and perceptions, constantly second-guessing herself and seeking validation from others. With the help of therapy and the support of her loved ones, Everly slowly began to rebuild her sense of reality and reclaim her power. She learned to recognize the signs of gaslighting and developed strategies for protecting herself from future manipulation. As she healed from the emotional and psychological abuse inflicted by Ethan, Everly found strength in her newfound understanding of the gaslighting techniques that had once controlled her. She vowed to use her experiences to help others who found themselves trapped in similar cycles of abuse, offering hope and guidance to those struggling to break free from the insidious grip of gaslighting. In the end, Everly's journey serves as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of self-discovery. Despite the immense challenges she faced, she was able to overcome the darkness of her past and forge a new path for herself, one filled with hope, healing, and a renewed sense of self-worth. Her story offers inspiration and encouragement to others who may be grappling with the effects of gaslighting and emotional abuse, a reminder that it is possible to reclaim one's sense of reality and emerge stronger and more empowered than ever before. Chapter 3: Breaking Free. The protagonist recognizes the signs of abuse and seeks help from a trusted friend or therapist. Over time, the weight of Ethan's manipulation and control became increasingly unbearable for Everly. There were moments when she felt like she was drowning in her own confusion and self-doubt, struggling to maintain her sense of self amid the relentless onslaught of gaslighting and emotional abuse. Despite her desperate attempts to rationalize Ethan's behavior and cling to the hope that their love could conquer all, a small voice inside her began to whisper the truth, that she was trapped in a toxic and destructive cycle, and that she deserved better than the life she was living. The first step towards recognizing the signs of abuse came when Everly stumbled upon an article about narcissistic abuse and gaslighting. As she read through the descriptions of manipulative tactics and their effects on victims, she felt a chill run down her spine. It was as if the author had reached into her mind and put her experiences into words, shining a light on the dark reality of her relationship with Ethan. With this newfound knowledge, Everly began to analyze her relationship more critically, identifying numerous instances where Ethan had employed gaslighting and other abusive tactics to control her. She realized that the loving and supportive partner she had fallen for was nothing more than a carefully constructed facade, hiding a narcissistic and manipulative monster. As the truth of her situation became impossible to ignore, Everly knew that she needed help. She confided in her best friend, Olivia, who had always been there for her through thick and thin. Olivia was shocked and heartbroken by the revelations, but she immediately stepped up to offer her unwavering support and guidance. Together, they researched therapists who specialized in helping victims of narcissistic abuse and gaslighting. It was important for Everly to find someone who understood the intricacies of her situation and could provide her with the tools and resources she needed to break free from Ethan's control. After several consultations, Everly found a therapist named Dr. Simmons, who had extensive experience in working with survivors of emotional and psychological abuse. From their very first session, Everly felt a sense of relief and validation, as Dr. Simmons listened to her story with empathy and understanding. Over the course of their therapy sessions, Dr. Simmons helped Everly identify and understand the various gaslighting techniques that Ethan had employed to manipulate and control her. They discussed the impact of these tactics on her mental health and self-esteem, exploring the ways in which they had eroded her sense of reality and self-worth. Dr. Simmons also introduced Everly to the concept of trauma bonding, a phenomenon in which victims develop a strong attachment to their abuser due to the intense emotional experiences they share. This bond can make it incredibly difficult for victims to leave their abusers, even when they recognize that the relationship is toxic and harmful. As Everly gained a deeper understanding of the abuse she had endured, she began to develop strategies for protecting herself from future manipulation and setting healthy boundaries. She learned about the importance of self-care and self-compassion, recognizing that she needed to prioritize her own well-being in order to heal and move forward. With the support of Dr. Simmons and her friend Olivia, Everly started to rebuild her life and her sense of self. She reconnected with friends and family members who had been pushed away by Ethan's controlling behavior, finding solace in their love and encouragement. As she continued her journey towards healing and recovery, Everly became an advocate for other survivors of narcissistic abuse and gaslighting. She shared her experiences and insights with others who were struggling to break free from the cycle of abuse, offering hope and guidance to those in need. In the end, Everly's decision to seek help from a trusted friend and therapist proved to be the turning point in her journey towards freedom and self-discovery. With their support, she was able to confront the darkness that had consumed her life, emerging stronger and more resilient than ever before. Her story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of recognizing the signs of abuse and seeking help from those around us. It is a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit, and the transformative power of hope, healing, and self-love. As Everly continued to rebuild her life and reclaim her sense of self, she found solace in the knowledge that she was not alone in her struggle. She knew that her journey was just one of many, a single thread in the vast tapestry of human experience. And with each step she took towards healing and recovery, she became a beacon of light for others who found themselves lost in the darkness, offering them the hope and inspiration they needed to find their own way back to the light. A pivotal moment that leads to the protagonist's decision to leave the abusive relationship. As the months went by, Everly found herself sinking deeper and deeper into the quagmire of Ethan's manipulation and control. His gaslighting had become so pervasive that she struggled to distinguish between reality and the distorted version of events that he presented to her. Her self-confidence had been systematically dismantled, leaving her feeling powerless and isolated. Despite the mounting evidence of Ethan's abusive behavior, Everly continued to cling to the hope that their love could conquer all. She rationalized his actions as misguided attempts to protect her, unwilling to accept the reality that the man she had fallen in love with was nothing more than a carefully constructed facade. It wasn't until a specific pivotal moment that Everly finally acknowledged the severity of her circumstances and made the life-altering decision to leave the abusive relationship. One evening, Everly returned home from work, exhausted after a long day. She had received praise from her boss for a project she had been working on, and she couldn't wait to share the news with Ethan. As she entered their apartment, she found him sitting on the couch, his face a mask of cold fury. Ethan immediately launched into a tirade, accusing Everly of neglecting their relationship and prioritizing her career over him. He belittled her accomplishments, claiming that she was only successful because of his support and guidance. As his words cut through her like a knife, Everly felt the familiar sting of humiliation and self-doubt. But this time, something was different. A flicker of defiance ignited within her, fueled by the injustice of his accusations and the knowledge that she deserved better. For the first time, she found the courage to stand up for herself, challenging Ethan's claims and asserting her right to celebrate her achievements. In response, Ethan's rage intensified. He towered over her, his voice rising to a deafening roar as he berated her for her insolence. The atmosphere in the room was thick with tension, and Everly felt a cold dread settling in her stomach as she anticipated his next move. And then it happened, the pivotal moment that would forever change the course of her life. As Ethan raised his hand poised to strike her, time seemed to slow down. In that instant, Everly saw her future laid out before her, a never-ending cycle of manipulation, control, and pain. She realized that if she didn't take action, she would be forever trapped in the darkness of Ethan's abuse, her dreams and aspirations crushed beneath the weight of his control. The thought of such a future filled her with a sense of despair and urgency, propelling her to make the most difficult decision of her life. With a surge of adrenaline, Everly dodged Ethan's blow and ran to the bedroom, locking the door behind her. Her heart pounded in her chest as she frantically gathered her belongings, stuffing them into a suitcase and planning her escape. As she prepared to leave the apartment, Everly knew that she was taking the first step towards reclaiming her life and her power. She understood that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges and setbacks, but she was determined to break free from the chains of Ethan's abuse and forge a new path for herself. With the support of her friends and family, Everly began the arduous process of healing and recovery. She sought therapy to help her come to terms with the trauma she had endured, and to rebuild her sense of self-worth and confidence. As she embarked on her journey towards freedom and self-discovery, Everly became a beacon of hope and inspiration for others who found themselves trapped in similar cycles of abuse. She shared her story and her insights, offering guidance and encouragement to those who were struggling to break free from the shackles of their past. In the end, it was that pivotal moment, the instant when Everly chose to stand up for herself and refused to accept a future defined by abuse and control, that set her on the path towards healing and self-empowerment. Her story serves as a powerful reminder of the strength and resilience of the human spirit, and the transformative power of hope, determination, and self-love.
Thank you for tuning into our audiobook. If you're enjoying the story and would like to experience the full narration, we invite you to read the video description below. There you'll find all the details necessary to immerse yourself fully in this audio journey. And if you appreciate our content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing audiobooks. Happy listening!